Thank you very much to invite me to speaking about what I really have my heart in, and that is feeding the very immature infant. So, now I will see. Topics, this one? No? Another. Okay. Oh, I can. Jag tar den. This one. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Topics of today. And well, Mireille have spoke a lot of what I want to speak of, but I think we integrate to each other. So first question: initiation of enteral feeding, when to start. Today I want to give a physiological background which hopefully will contribute to the understanding of the challenging and often problematic situation faced while feeding these infants, and especially the most immature infants. So the focus today is the initiation of feeding and when to start, and the source of nutrition, what to give. We all know what that means too, and the impact of different tube feeding methods, how to feed it, which is a special area that I have been very interested in, and also feeding advancements, slow or fast. So, in this picture taken by the world-famous photographer Lennart Nilsson, we can see the normal environment for these infants during normal fetal growth and development. During development, there is a continuous interaction between the genetic regulators on the chromosome, the genome, and the environment. And here we can see the thumb-sucking fetus prepare itself for life after birth. To be able to suck and swallow is crucial for survival. The fetus starts to suck about around 15 weeks post-conceptional age, and even though the coordination of sucking and swallowing is developed later, so it's really necessity for the fetus to suck and swallow in utero. So so when do we start? We are always saying that initiation of enteral nutrition, we should start as soon as possible. The goal is within the first 6 hours. However, initiation of very early enteral feeding in this group of very immature infants is depending on also respiratory and circulatory stability. So we are dealing with this. And here is Moa, born at 24 weeks and 5 days. She is here 8 hours after birth, and she is respiratory stable, supported by the continuous positive airway pressure and oxygen. She is also circulatory stable with acceptable blood pressure and just got her feeding tube in place, ready to start her first milk feeds. So, source of nutrition, what to give. We all need that now. there is no doubt about that human milk is the optimal source of nutrition. But this is, of course, specific importance in these very immature infants. So what we do know nowadays is that early administration, oral administration of colostrum, the first drips of the mother's milk, actually activates extremely low birth weight infants' immune system. And that is absolutely fantastic news, that if you take the first drop of colostrum and put it in here, in the bulb, it's specific cells. And if you think about what the baby are doing when it's breastfeed, the baby is just press up the tongue through the breast, and then these colostrum drips around at this place. And actually this is amazing, because that starts all the immunoactivity in the infant. And this is quite new research done. And also, what we also have seen when it comes to preterm infants, that is lower the risk of septicemia with 50%. So we are just writing up new promemorias of this, that we need to give the most immature and low birth weight infants these colostrum from the mother during the first hours after birth. And it's amazingly what the opportunity for survival and to decrease infections in these infants. So it also is not only about safety and don't get infections, but also early oral administration increase intestinal mucosal growth and increase gastrointestinal hormonal peptide release, and give faster maturation of gastrointestinal motor activity, which is absolutely needed in our smallest infants, and also decrease the risk for permeability and bacterial translocation. And I'm going on. There is a numerous of growth factors and hormones like prolactin and thyroid hormone, leptin, erythropoietin, and so on in the mother's milk that sustain survival of the preterm infant. So, and also supporting growth. And we know by Alan Lucas publishing a lot about increased intelligence quotient, cognitive development at age 18 months and also at 30 months. And so specifically, this is, of course, very important when it comes to premature infant. So also when it comes to gut development, early initiation of enteral nutrition can enable faster growth and development of gastric emptying and intestinal motor activity. And this is quite a while since these results come, but it's still very important in this area. And also when it comes to longer follow-up, there is also reduced risk for high blood pressure in these infants in later adulthood. And here is the paper that was just released 2015 about the oropharyngeal colostrum administration in extremely preterm infant. So this is really a thing that we are striving for, to connect the mother at the ward and get that first drips for the safety of her baby. And when you talk to the mothers and just describe about this first drips of colostrum and what we can help the baby, and all mothers I have met in my study, and we wanted to start feeding. When you get a premature baby, and it's all about life and death, and then when I get to talk to the mother, and I just say, we want to start to feed your baby, and then you can see the change in the mother's face. Well, maybe, wow, maybe he wouldn't die. Maybe he will survive. And when you say the next you say is that the best we can give is your milk. Oh, how do I do it? So they get so very engaged in just having these milk drops and getting it to the baby. So it's many times that sometimes the mother is in another ward and quite sick, and then you engage the father, and the father is running up and down with drips, putting in the hair, and it just is kind of reunite the family also. And of course, also that early onset of starting milk is also extremely important with the colostrum, because it helps preventing infections. So there is always a fear of this devastating sickness called necrotizing enterocolitis, which was a disease first found in premature children. So of the children who develop NEC, 90% have been exposed to enteral feeding, and but on the other hand, human breast milk is protective against NEC. So, and also early enteral feeding and is a relationship between septicemia and the start of enteral feeds in the positive way of the early start. So, when it comes to my area, it's about different tube feeding methods and how to feed. So when we look at it in an evolutionary perspective, so we have different kind of species here. We do have hiding mammals in one point, and which that where they have a high nutrient content of milk. On the other side, we have primates like humans with low nutrient content of milk, and this is also a discussion. How often shall I breastfeed, or how often should we tube feed these infants? So the interval is also about the nutrient content of the milk. And that is quite interesting, because we always have this every third hours, every second hours, but when there is it was a research team that really follow gathering people in Namibia, Kalahari, and the mothers had the babies at the breast all the time, and the researchers were counting how often these children were sucking from the breast, and in average, about we are feeding our preemies in interval. We do it every third hour, but these babies and researchers, when they counted, it was 4 times every hour. So that is also a thing that you can think about. What is the natural for a baby to feed? So let's talk about Hilda. And Hilda was born at 25 weeks, and birth weight below 800 grams. And for me, she was a representative of a specific group of extremely preterm infants, and that have shown a lot of problems with enteral tolerance during interval feeding. And we had just started our NIDCAP study, and I was observer in the crew, and I was tube feed her, and I saw at every press on that in that syringe with the mother's milk, she reacted in negative way all over. And we were quite concerned over this little girl. And as we used to feed them every third hour, and that was, we have always done that. But the NIDCAP concept allowed us to individualize the caregiving. So I started to think, because this little girl had already have 2 septicemias, and it was really hard to get up in volumes. So then I started to think that maybe if we put the mother's milk in a syringe and just let it go like a pump infusion down to the stomach, if that could help. I discussed it with the physician in charge, and he said, well, I don't know, we have to do something, because she will not make it anyways. So then we put the milk in the syringe and let it go very slowly around the clock. And this little girl was off the IVs within 3 days. So that was like oh, have we doing this bolus feeding every third hour in a new population of extremely premature infants that don't can handle it. So, and I look up, and it was just some cases published about continuous feeding at that time. So then Hugo Lagercrantz said, the professor said to me that we have to do a randomized controlled trial. So that was the start of that project. So when it comes to the results of this study, we did, well, the continuous fed infants was nearly double as fast to get to full enteral feeding than the bolus-fed infants. And also the hazard ratio when it comes to the smallest infants below 850 gram was even fourfold to get very quickly up to full feeds. And we also look up how the growth was, which also was very much better. But I was also very interesting to see how these infants handle the feeding, if we bolus fed or if it just drip into the stomach continuously. So what I wanted to do and what we did was that we were video record the infants during a specific time for the continuous group and before, during and after a meal in the bolus groups. And we wanted to, the thing with the video taping was necessary because we know that we need to have 68 infants in this project, so to tell if we have effects or not. So when you can videotape, this project took about 3 years to collect the data. So then you can do the study of positive and negative emotional signals from the baby in a lot of short time. So that is a good thing when you can use film to study behavior. You can do it in a short time. So here is Johan. Birth weight 740 grams. Video recorded at 32 weeks here. Clear and awake. And we choose also to have black and white picture because it's hard with the color film because it could be more pale or red or so on. So this black and white was more sufficient. So here, and we did use 2 cameras, one on the whole body and then one on the just facial expression. So we use NIDCAP behavioral expressions indicating stress in this publication, and then the bolded black reactions was the reactions that the babies shown in this publication. So during the first week of age, we didn't see any difference between the groups when it comes to stress reactions. But then you can see at 15 days of age, the two control groups in black and, we did have two control groups because we wanted to see if one control group has permanent tube feeding, and the normal at the time was that we put down a feeding tube and took it away for every meal. And so we wanted to have two groups, control groups, to the new method. And as you can see, at 15 days of age, we had a lot less stress signals in the continuous group, and that was also stable at 32 weeks. And when it comes to total length of breastfeeding, it was a huge different. So how do you think about that? I think that if a baby, the breastfeeding as an outcome, you can say that to breastfeed, the infant must to go to the breast, must to want to suck. So I think to have breastfeeding as an outcome is it's an important outcome, because it says a lot of that maybe these infants can have a normal eating behavior later on. And when we look at the prevalence proportion of breastfeeding in this group, then we have significant results when it comes to, as you can see, initiate was the same initiation of breastfeeding, but at discharge 2 months corrected age, 4 months corrected age, and 6 months corrected age, the infants that have had a continuous feeding was breastfed longer and totally much more. And as we also know, it's very interesting about receiving early human milk feeds when it comes to septicemia in this group. So the essential needs in life before birth or for the newborn child is, of course, appropriate to the mother kangaroo program, love, warm and breast milk, and within that, nutrition, protection, sensory stimulation, and emotional contact. So, well, this is the picture we like. Tube feeding while skin to skin at mother's breast. And me and Eric, we thanks for this talk. So thank you for your attention.